Good evening and welcome to Ignite News on 6 at 6. I'm Rihanna Nikram. Thanks for joining us. Here are the highlights. 85,000 acres of land to open up for farming. University of Guyana urged CSEC students to apply early and reminds applicants that tuition is free. MODEC awarded contract to build the floating production, storage, and offloading vessel for the 7th oil project, Hammerhead. And the independent investigation into the death of Lindoner Ronaldo Peters completed. Heavy public investments to prevent flooding are set to unlock more than 85,000 acres of farmland in Regions 5 and 6. That's according to Vice President Dr. Bar Jagdeo, who says the government's flood relief program will be funded largely through the low-carbon development strategy. 85% of the strategy's earnings will go toward the effort.
So this flood control, water management program to build sluices around the country, 40 additional pumps, even for Georgetown, the one at Lilendale we're building, and to build these canals right across the country. That was the idea. We started the consultation. Since then, this is what it looks like. So in Region 5, let me give you an idea, because I talk about opening up more lands for small farmers. So in Region 5, we have an $18 billion project funded only from LCDS money, not a cent from taxpayers. We're going to build 86 kilometers of flood protection embankment. So an embankment from Mahaika to Maikoni, 45, like the Conservancy Dam we have here in Region 4, 45.9 kilometers, and Maikoni to Abari, 40 kilometers. Right? So 86 kilometers of embankment to protect the water flowing down from the backlands, and this is deep in across Region 5. The internal drains, 510 kilometers. You know what's 510 kilometers? That's like a whole length of the coast. 510 kilometers of internal drains. 283 between Mahaika and Maikoni, and between Maikoni and Abari, 226.
The Vice President also notes that farmers in Regions 4 and 5 will see major benefits as thousands of acres of new farmland will open up. This will provide critical support for small-scale farmers across the country.
So we are going to now open up new lands, apart from saving the other communities. We're going to, between Mahaika and Maikoni, we're going to open up 31,000 acres of land, and between Maikoni and Abari, about 24,000 acres of land. So that's 55,000 acres of land, new land, would be available now to distribute, particularly to small farmers and people who are just starting, because a lot of our smaller farmers now need land to expand cultivation. That will bring a massive output in GDP, create new growth poles, etc.
In Region 6, 42 kilometers of flood embankment will be developed, along with 103 kilometers of internal drains. This project will open up an additional 30,000 acres of land. The University of Guyana is encouraging all students writing this year's Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, or CSEC, examinations to apply for admission now. Students are being asked to notify the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, to send the results directly to the university. Officials say this will help speed up the admissions process. Some programs are also offering provisional acceptance while students await their final grades. The university is currently processing more than 1,200 applications every week. Therefore, prospective applicants are being urged to apply early. The deadline to apply is May 16, 2025. The university reminds that from January 1, 2025, tuition is free for all new and continuing students pursuing diplomas, bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs. For more information on how to apply and admission requirements, visit the university's website at uag.edu.gy. The government intends to establish medical and technical laboratories in all 10 administrative regions of the country if returned to office. Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo announced last Thursday that this initiative will ease the burden on students who travel to Georgetown to access these services at the University of Guyana. He emphasized that the government is committed to ensuring students pursuing technical and science subjects no longer face these challenges.
In the next term, we are going to be putting in every region these medical and technical labs so people can do the labs even if they have an online scholarship. They don't have to travel because of that, travel to university in Georgetown, which pushes up their costs.
These efforts are part of the government's plan to provide equal access to education across the country. In addition, there are ongoing efforts to improve accessibility and connectivity in remote communities. As part of an upcoming project, Starlink, the satellite internet service from SpaceX will help expand internet access in hinterland and riverine areas.
So we were thinking about how do we give every child an opportunity to go to university in Guyana. And that is why we came up with the model of, and we promised in our manifesto, 20,000 online scholarships. We said if we could have people do university education right from their homes, then then this will cut out the cost. We have done already 30,000, and this year when we allocate it will probably be another 5,000. So we've gone far beyond what we promised. But then we're encountering some additional difficulties that we intend to solve. So the first was access to the indigenous communities because they didn't have internet. How do you do online university if you don't have internet facilities? So that is why the Prime Minister is rolling out a program where we're putting Starlink facilities in all the indigenous communities and the hinterland communities general, whether you're indigenous or not, and the riverine areas, etc., of the country, so you can have access to internet.
Members of the government have repeatedly stated that its mission is to create a world-class education sector. This sector will provide equal access to citizens nationwide by decentralizing education. Residents of Cato Village, Region 8, have received support to improve access to potable water. Each household within the village has received a water tank to securely store their water. During a recent visit to the community, President Irfan Ali received requests from the residents to improve access to potable water. He responded by providing a tank to every household. The water tanks were officially handed over by Regional Chairman of Region 8, Hedley Pio. Delegations from the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs and the Amerindian Peoples Association are at the 24th session of the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. The forum, which started yesterday, runs until May 2, 2025, at the United Nations headquarters in New York. It focuses on turning the principles of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples into real actions. Participants will share successful practices and tackle challenges in implementing them. The forum covers 6 main areas: economic development, culture, environment, education, health, and human rights. This year's theme is implementing the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Minister of Amerindian Affairs, Pauline Sukai, spoke on the rights of Indigenous women during the forum's opening day. Guyana's participation, her ministry explains, highlights its commitment to advancing Indigenous rights and sharing solutions within the global community. Whether or not Guyana's gas will be processed in Trinidad and Tobago will depend on its commercial viability, as determined by private investors. Vice President Bharat Jagdeo made that disclosure during his weekly press conference last Thursday. Trinidad had previously said that if its Dragon cross-border gas field license with Venezuela were revoked by the U.S., Guyana's gas could be a viable alternative. Earlier this month, Trinidad confirmed that the U.S. had indeed pulled the deal. However, Jagdeo emphasized that whether Guyana's natural gas can help Trinidad with its dwindling reserves is up to the investors to decide.
Through a public process, identify a company to work with Exxon and the government of Guyana to monetize the gas. If they choose to take this gas to Trinidad to be processed, and that offers the greatest return to the project and thereby the greatest revenue to Guyana, that's an option to them.
The Vice President highlighted several options for monetizing Guyana's gas. These include bringing it onshore for industrialization, supplying Brazil with energy, or developing liquefied natural gas offshore for direct distribution. He also reminded the public that no taxpayer money is being used for the gas project. Instead, investors will privately fund it, meaning they will have the final say on how the gas is marketed.
If this is all privately determined, then they look at the rate, the return on each of these options, and then settle if we have X amount of gas. Can we meet all of them, or which is the one that in the ranking gives us the highest return? And that's how a commercial decision is made. When we not making a political decision on this, first of all, it has to be a commercial decision, but a commercial decision must seek to maximize returns to the investor and to Guyana.
Trinidad has suggested using Guyana's gas, but according to Jagdeo, no formal communication has been received from the Twin Island nation. The Caribbean community, CARICOM, is breathing a sigh of relief tonight. The United States Trade Representative has officially exempted the region from proposed high port fees on China-built vessels. The CARICOM Private Sector Organization, CPSO, announced the good news on Saturday. Without the exemption, the region faced fees of more than $1 million per port call. These costs could have disrupted trade, pushed up inflation, and triggered shortages across the Caribbean. The CPSO credits a strong, unified response from CARICOM heads of government for the win. Chairman Gervais Warner highlights the leadership of Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley. Her direct engagement with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and President Donald Trump proved critical. Economist Dr. Patrick Antoine also led strategic advocacy efforts that helped secure the breakthrough. The CPSO had pushed for key concessions, including lowering the range for short-sea shipping to 2,000 nautical miles. This is down from a proposed 2,750 miles. It also advocated exemptions for vessels under 55,000 deadweight tons, for ships carrying fewer than 4,000 20-foot equivalent units, and for specialized cargo vessels, like chemical and energy carriers, up to 80,000 deadweight tons. The CPSO also acknowledged the vital support of regional business leaders, the shipping and tourism industries, and the media, saying their partnership helped drive the region's success. The commissioning of 45 new concrete bridges along the Mabura to Lethem corridor in Region 9 is expected to boost the economy in hinterland communities. Prime Minister Mark Phillips, who opened the bridges on Saturday, said they will do more than just improve transportation. The bridges are part of a national infrastructure plan aimed at creating better access to services, businesses, schools, hospitals, and farms. The Prime Minister added that these projects are key to connecting Guyana's regions and promoting growth for all communities. He also announced that over $12.9 billion is allocated for the corridor in 2025, with a total of $209 billion for roads and bridges nationwide. Other major projects on the way include the Linden to Mabura Hill Road and new bridges over the Quarantine, Berbice, and Demerara rivers. Several women from Seafield Sophia are one step closer to starting their own businesses in garment construction after receiving sewing machines from the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. The machines were handed over at the Seafield Sophia Community Center. It follows the women's successful completion of the Women's and Innovation and Investment Network WIN garment construction course. The ministry emphasized that skill-based initiatives like this are crucial for sustainable community development, helping empower women to turn their new skills into income and achieve self-sufficiency. Himwati Kishun, one of the beneficiaries, thanked the ministry during the handover ceremony.
I'm very happy to join this program and I'm glad that all the young people could take part, and I wish it come more and more every year.
Additionally, Tiffany Janice of Wonder Beauty Salon expressed gratitude for the skills she acquired.
Take part in the sewing program, and I come out with it because I do my whole little small business stuff, so I must participate. I'd like to thank this team for the program. and also giving you a special gift.
Janice also conveyed her appreciation for being able to participate in the We Lift Women's Expo, which was held recently at the National Aquatic Center. The expo, which is considered the largest women's expo initiative in the region, provided exposure as well as economic and social empowerment to over 350 women-owned businesses. The WIN program uses a hybrid format to train women in various technical and vocational areas. Following the passing of Pope Francis, President Irfan Ali has extended condolences to the global Catholic community, especially the faithful of Guyana's local diocese. The Georgian Diocese will hold a Mass for the late Pope Francis on Friday, April 25th. It will take place at the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception on Brick Dam. Pope Francis, the first pope from the Americas, died peacefully on Easter Monday at the age of 88. President Irfan Ali has expressed condolences to the global Catholic community, especially those in the local diocese. The president noted that, beyond his religious legacy, Pope Francis will be remembered for his simple lifestyle, his progressive stance on global issues like climate change, inequality, and migration, and his efforts to foster interfaith dialogue. Condolences have also been shared by Dr. Bharat Jagdeo on behalf of the People's Progressive Party and Nigel Hughes on behalf of the Alliance for Change. The Vatican has announced that tomorrow, Pope Francis' body will be removed to St. Peter's Basilica. The faithful are expected to gather there to pay their final respects. His funeral will be held Saturday outside the Basilica before he is laid to rest at Rome's Basilica of St. Mary Major, a place he held dear throughout his papacy. The BBC reports that leaders from around the globe will join millions of mourners in honoring a man who spent his life championing the poor, the marginalized, and the cause of peace. In Argentina, where he was born, his people remember him as a voice of compassion and unity. Italy has declared 5 days of national mourning, and the Vatican will observe 9 days of mourning beginning after the funeral. Pope Francis leaves behind a legacy that forever changed the face of the Catholic Church and touched hearts far beyond it. The Guyana Police Forces Office of Professional Responsibility, along with the Regional Security System, has completed an investigation into the fatal shooting of Londoner Ronaldo Peters. According to a release, the case file will be forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecutions by April 23, 2025 for legal advice. The release also stated that additional witnesses in the fatal shooting of Keon Fajne will be interviewed today as investigators work to finalize the case before submission. Peters was fatally shot by a policeman in Linden on April 7, 2025. Police said Peters, wanted for rape, was accidentally shot while attempting to escape arrest. The following day, Keon Fajne was shot and killed during protests in response to Peters' death. The death sparked anger and fiery protests in the community. President Dr. Irfan Ali had promised a full investigation into the incidents and has met with the families of the deceased. A 39-year-old motorcyclist, Markine Jackson, lost his life on Monday night. Jackson was the victim of a fatal crash on the Moblisso Public Road, Soosdijk-Linden Highway. The accident occurred around 10 p.m. and involved 3 vehicles, a minibus, a parked car, and Jackson's motorcycle. Police say the minibus, driven by 54-year-old Maurice Meredith, was heading south at a high speed when the driver lost control. The minibus veered onto the western side of the road and collided head-on with Jackson's motorcycle. The impact pushed Jackson and his bike into a nearby parked car. Both Jackson and Meredith were rushed to the Linden Hospital complex. Jackson was pronounced dead on arrival, while Meredith remains hospitalized under police guard. Jackson's body has been taken to Pensioners Mortuary for a post-mortem examination. Police investigations into the crash are ongoing. Guyana is ready to expand its global presence, with the Chief Investment Officer and head of the Guyana Office for Investment, Dr. Peter Ramsroob, stating that the country is open for business. The Guyana Office for Investment, in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, will lead a high-level private sector delegation to World Expo 2025 in Osaka, Japan, from April 26 to 28. This mission highlights Guyana's commitment to advancing international trade, promoting sustainable investment, and accelerating private sector growth. The delegation will coincide with Guyana's National Day at the Expo, which will take place on April 27th, and be led by Tourism Minister Onich Waldron. National Day celebrations will showcase Guyana's cultural diversity, innovation and creativity, offering global audiences an immersive experience. The Guyana Office for Investment has also organized business-to-business matchmaking sessions with Japanese companies in key growth sectors aimed at fostering investment partnerships and boosting Guyana's global profile. Japanese shipbuilder MODEC has been awarded its second contract for a floating production, storage, and offloading FPSO vessel, this time for the Hammerhead oil project. The announcement came on Monday, with MODEC highlighting that the contract is a limited notice to proceed issued by ExxonMobil Guyana. It still requires government and regulatory approvals. Phase 1 of development includes front-end engineering and design, while Phase 2 will cover engineering, procurement, construction, and installation. The notice allows MODEC to begin FPSO design work with the goal of launching the project by 2029. However, Phase 2, construction and installation, will depend on further government and regulatory approvals, as well as ExxonMobil Guyana's project sanctioning. In addition, MODEC has established an operations and maintenance enabling agreement for its Guyana fleet, ensuring long-term operational support for multiple FPSOs. The Hammerhead FPSO will have the capacity to produce 150,000 barrels of oil per day and will be moored in a water depth of approximately 1,025 meters using a SOFEX spread mooring system. Internationally, the World Food Programme is suspending aid for 650,000 malnourished women and children in Ethiopia due to a lack of funding. Al Jazeera reports that the UN agency warned today that 3.6 million people in Ethiopia overall are at risk of losing access to food aid in the coming weeks unless new financial support can urgently be sourced. The agency said it planned to reach 2 million mothers and children with life-saving nutrition assistance in 2025. They will fall short due to a predicted funding shortfall of $222 million between April and September. Like many aid agencies, the World Food Programme is affected by the funding cuts of the Donald Trump administration. Shortly after his inauguration in January, the U.S. President signed an executive order freezing all foreign aid. In sports, former Australia cricketer Michael Slater has received a partly suspended 4-year prison sentence for domestic violence. The BBC reports that Slater, who played 74 tests for Australia between 1993 and 2001, pled guilty to 7 charges, including 2 counts of choking a woman. The charges also included stalking, assault, and burglary. He also sent a woman abusive messages. Slater has spent more than 12 months in custody and made multiple failed attempts to secure bail. Judge Glenn Cash today sentenced Slater to 4 years imprisonment to be partially suspended after time served. The remainder of Slater's sentence is suspended for 5 years, during which he will risk being returned to custody if he commits another serious offense. He was cleared for release after he also pleaded guilty to a drink and drug driving offense. The Detroit Pistons ended their record 15-game playoff losing streak when they won against the New York Knicks. Al Jazeera reports that the 100-94 victory levels the Eastern Conference first-round series at 1 game apiece. Detroit's Cade Cunningham scored 33 points and grabbed 12 rebounds, and Dennis Schroeder added 20 points off the bench, including a 3-pointer with 55.7 seconds left. The Pistons, in the playoffs for the first time since 2019, earned their first playoff victory since Game 4 of the 2008 Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics. And that's all for this edition of Ignite News on 6 at 6. For more stories, visit ignitenews.com or follow us on social media. Thanks for watching. I'm Rihanna Nikram. See you tomorrow for more Ignite News.